Again, the American people. Brian Fisher here. The program is Focal Point, free for all Friday. Go to the phones here in a second, 888-589-8840. Got a story here from Politico. Remember, Politico leans left. They're in Obama's back pocket. They're rooting for him. He's their guy. And they've got a headline piece here. President Obama could lose big on Syria in the House. Now, the Senate maybe could go either way, but he could suffer an historic defeat in the House of Representatives. Here's how Politico begins the piece. If the Senate passes a use of force resolution next week, which is no sure thing, the current dynamics suggest that the House would defeat it. That would represent a dramatic failure for Obama and once again prove that his sway over Congress is extraordinarily limited. The loss would have serious reverberations throughout the next 3 months. It turned President Obama into a complete toothless paper lion. Senior aides say they expect at most between 50 and 60 Republicans to vote with Boehner and Eric Cantor. So you got the two leaders in the House. These feckless leaders, John Boehner, Eric Cantor, they want to go in and bomb Syria. They want to help al-Qaeda. John Boehner, Eric Cantor, they want to help al-Qaeda. The people that are going in and taking over Christian villages, bombing Christian churches, destroying statues of the Virgin Mary. They want to support these people. They want to help these people. And according to senior aides, only 50 to 60 Republicans are going to join them. That means the only way, now realize what this means. This means that the only way that this resolution would even get a vote in the House of Representatives is if John Boehner violates the Hastert rule again. Remember, the Denny Hastert rule was, I'm not even going to bring a bill to the floor of the House unless a majority of the Republican caucus supports it. I mean, that's the whole idea. Elections have consequences. The American people put the Republican Party in charge of the House. The Speaker of the House is a Republican. With that position, placed in that position by the American people, come certain privileges. You don't have to bring a bill to the floor if and you don't want to. And Denny Hastert said, hey, as long as I'm Speaker, I'm not even going to bring a bill to the floor unless a majority of the Republicans in the House support it. John Boehner has violated that rule now 3 times. There are 3 bills that John Boehner has brought to the floor that passed despite overwhelming Republican opposition. They passed because the Democrats liked it better than the Republicans did, and John Boehner went ahead and gave it a vote. So he's apparently thinking about doing that again. And only 50 to 60 Republicans would be with him. I mean, the vast majority of Republicans would be against it. What this would mean, according to Politico, is that the vast majority of the 200 House Democrats will need to vote with Obama for the resolution to pass. But Democrats privately say that Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi and Minority Whip Steny Hoyer can only round up between 115 and 130 yes votes. And Nancy Pelosi was out there yesterday saying, look, I'm not going to whip this thing. What that means is we're not going to put any pressure on any Democrat to vote for this thing. So they know that they've got a scorpion by the tail. Now, here's Elijah Cummings. This is clip 17. Elijah Cummings, he's a Democrat. He's a black, and yet he admits in this soundbite how unpopular going into Syria is with his own people. He's a Democrat. He's in leadership in the House. He represents a very heavily Democratic district. And here's what he had to say about what his constituents are telling him about whether they want him to follow Obama into this senseless war on Syria.
I got to tell you, Ed, this is the argument. The argument that you're making right now is one that I'm hearing from my constituents. And I know Bernie Sanders said most of the calls coming into his office were against this effort. I can tell you 99% of the calls coming to my office are against it. And they are citing the types of things that you just said.
So I said 99%. 99% of the calls coming into my office. I am a black congressman representing a heavily Democratic district. I am in leadership in the House of Representatives in the minority side, and 99% of my constituents do not want us to go in to Syria. And yet John Boehner is a Republican. He's out there trying to make this happen, support al-Qaeda, support the jihadists that are killing Christians and destroying Christian villages and Christian churches and Christian statuary over there in the country of Syria. Well, let's go to the phones. If I can grab my software here, pull it up. Let's go. Let's start by going to John in New Caney, Texas. John, welcome to Focal Point with Brian Fisher. Talk to me. What's on your mind?
How you doing, Brian? I'm
Good.
Start off by thanking you for what you do and what AFR does, and you're all blessings to my life.
You're welcome. Well, thank you very much.
I just got a comment about what's going on in Syria. I think it's kind of wild how the president, is all for going in over there, but yet in Libya, we have 4 of our own people get killed, and he acts like it's no big deal, nothing, to worry about or anything like that. But yet, there's a country, still war going on, where we have no allies in, and he wants to go in and start bombing everybody. But that's just my comment. I'll take yours off the air.
Yeah.
Thank you for everything you do, and God bless you all.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, John. I appreciate that very much. And, it's going to be interesting to see what Obama does. He's going to deliver an address to the nation on Tuesday from Syria, or from Russia. Still going to be over there in Russia, I guess, with the G20 summit, as I understand it. And he's going to be delivering some kind of a speech to the nation to try to make his case why we ought to go into Syria. The final Senate vote on his resolution is going to be Wednesday, apparently, which I think is 9/11. So apparently Harry Reid is trying to rush this thing through. Again, it's all part of this effort to paint this as a brave, courageous move on the part of President Obama. And so they want to cast this symbolic vote, apparently, on the anniversary of 9/11. And by the way, you've got Iran saying we are going to take retaliation. If Cowboy Barack goes into Syria, we're going to take retaliation. In fact, Iran has said, we want President Obama's daughters raped and murdered. That's what they're saying. That's what Iran is saying. You go into Syria, we're going to do our best to see that President Obama's daughters are raped and murdered. That's who we're dealing with over there. We shouldn't even be monkeying with that part of the world, because that's who we're dealing with. That's Iran. Russia's over there. They're backing up Assad. They're backing up Iran. And we talked yesterday at length about what Russia's motivation here is. They want to keep a natural gas pipeline from going across Syria to threaten their monopoly on the oil market in Europe. So Russia is with Assad because Assad's blocking the building of this pipeline. But it's going to be interesting to see what Barack Obama does if he does not get this resolution, because remember, he didn't have one for Libya. He never got one. The law says, okay, you can, if you feel there's an imminent threat to American interests, which there was not, then you can deploy American military force, obviously, to protect the American people in an emergency. That's fine. Everybody understands that. But then you've got a limited amount of time to come to Congress and explain what you did and tell us why you did it. He never did that with Libya. He just went in there, bombed the place to smithereens, took out Gaddafi, turned all these weapons loose. People were driving up in pickup trucks and loading up RPGs and surface-to-air missile launchers in the backs of their pickup trucks, driving off to who knows where. And then we were taking some of those weapons, and Ambassador Stevens was trying to get them to these Syrian rebels now that are using these weapons to attack and kill Christians. And we were part of that. So it'll be interesting to see what President Obama does. He was very cagey about that today, about whether he would go ahead and strike Syria, even if Congress voted him down. An aide of his is privately telling the press, no, he won't. He's not going to bomb Syria if he doesn't get congressional authorization. But who knows what he would do. And I'll tell you, if he does, even Senator McCain last night said, if he puts boots on the ground in Syria, that is an impeachable offense. That's what John McCain said. Obama puts boots on the ground, that is an impeachable offense. And I will guarantee you, if he goes to war in Syria, despite getting a resolution voted down by either House of Congress, that's going to be a constitutional crisis. That will be a constitutional crisis. The Republicans will make that a constitutional crisis. You have a president here, obviously flagrantly then violating the plain provisions of the United States Constitution. All right, let's go to Charlie in Florence, South Carolina. Charlie, welcome to Focal Point. What's on your mind?
Hi, thank you. I just wanted to say, I want to preface what I have to say, first of all, by saying I don't think that we should be involved with Syria based upon the reasoning that there's not really a just cause there because of who the rebels are. But what I wanted to say was that it's been kind of aggravating to me because a lot of people's reason is that, you know, the United States is war weary, or there's nothing that we could benefit from it. And I just think that, you know, if there is a just cause, regardless of what we get from it or not, you know, I think we should do what's within our power to help somebody that needed help, you know. But in this case, I understand that that's not the case. But if it was, you know, I think that we should do something about that.
Yeah, well, I certainly agree with you, Charlie, on that being war weary should never be an excuse not to use American military might where it's necessary, where it's needed, where there is a just cause for the use of American military force. You go back to World War II. I'll just pick Britain for an example. I'm just finishing a biography of Winston Churchill and walks through World War II, and I mean, that thing looked bad. From 1940 right up until D-Day, that looked bad. The whole cause looked bad. It was one defeat, one setback, one reversal, one piece of bad news after another. So, I mean, that was a war-weary nation. I mean, 800,000 homes were destroyed in England during the course of that war by German bombers, or 800,000 people left homeless or something like that. Either 800,000 homes or 800,000 people left homeless. Huge number of people completely dislocated. You know, they were war-weary. They were completely weary, but their cause was just. Their survival was at stake, so you don't cash in your chips. It doesn't matter how war-weary you are. You still continue to fight the good fight. So I agree with you, Charlie. That's not a good reason. There's a just cause, then we need to be prepared to use the American military. But I think the issue, you know, clearly is whether there's a just cause. One of the realities here, Charlie, is that there are no good guys in Syria. There are no good guys. I mean, John McCain's out there, John Kerry's out there trying to say, hey, we got moderates in the opposition here. They're not. The Free Syrian Army, it's the Free Syrian Army that went into this village I told you about and destroyed this cathedral and broke the statue of Mary. They've taken control of that place. It was the Free Syrian Army that did that. These are the people that John McCain is saying are moderates. These are the people that John Kerry is saying are moderates. There are no good guys to back in Syria. There is no just cause for us to be there. Back in Tuesday.
The sacrifice made by our servicemen and women runs very